Hey guys, Pro1701 here, and today we are going to be ranking the multi-Doctor stories in the Doctor Who TV show. Now, specifically just Doctor Who stories on the show. We're not going to be doing any Big Finish audio multi-Doctor stories, mainly for two reasons. One is because I've never actually listened to any of the multi-Doctor stories from Big Finish, and that's also the other reason. We will be including Fugitive of the Jadoon on here, but since that is two versions of the Doctor interacting. We will not be including Name of the Doctor, since even though it has other incarnations of the Doctor, they don't really interact, because that version of the War Doctor is not actually the War Doctor. That's just something in his head, in his timeline, so I don't count that. So going by that, we have 7 on the list to go over, and starting at number 7 is The Two Doctors. This one's not really that good. It has moments, and I haven't watched it in a while. I really do need to go back and watch it again. It's been a while, but I remember not liking it a lot. Troughton's great in it. I actually do like Troughton in it. He's a little grumpier, I think, than usual. The animosity between him and the Sixth Doctor, he seems a little grumpier than he usually is, but I enjoy him in it. Frasier is great in it as Jamie. He pops right back into that role well. I really wish they would come up with an explanation for the Doctor's aged appearance, especially the gray hair. I'm always surprised they didn't, turn his hair black, dye his hair black for it. Although it fits in with the Season 6B theory perfectly. I actually really like the Season 6B theory, and that Two Doctors is kind of where that originated from. Colin's fine in it. It's the story itself I have issues with, like the whole part where the second Doctor becomes one of the primitive people. I can't remember the name. It's been so long since I've seen it. I didn't really like that bit. I hate the guy who works in the restaurant who overacts like crazy in it. I don't like him in that bit. It took me out because it seemed a bit of a caricature of a character. The other guy who is a primitive who keeps wanting to carve Jamie up with his knife is so over the top. I don't really care for that. I do like that the episode starts in black and white and transitions to color. It's kind of told from the second Doctor's point of view, and the ending of it told from the sixth Doctor's point of view. I do like that a lot. So it's not bad. It's just not really good. It's between good and bad. I definitely would like to watch it again soon. Number 6 on my list is Fugitive of the Jadoon. Now, this episode is really, really good, but a lot of it for me is first time watch. This is a great episode the first time you watch it. And it's good even after that, but it loses its shock value after you've watched it a few times, because you kind of know what's going to happen then. So this is one of those, that first viewing is really where it hits its punch. It's a good episode. It has so many twists and turns, and the things it does, you're constantly sitting there going, what is going on right now? And it's living proof that the Chibnall era of Doctor Who can be good, that they can do good episodes. This was a really, really good episode. The only reason it's this far down on the list is I happen to like all the other stories further up the list a lot too. But I really, really like the Fugitive Doctor. I like Jo Martin. I think she's a great Doctor. I'd love to see some more of her in Season 13. I do wish that Chibnall would have put her, like a lot of us were thinking, that she was a Season 6B Doctor between the second and third Doctors. That would have fit in perfectly, but he didn't do that because... But I do like the episode. Moving up to number 5 is Twice Upon a Time. This one just barely edges out Fugitive. I like both of them. I like Capaldi's final story. I actually like the fact there's not really a villain in it. I love that line about, I don't know what to do if it's not an evil plan. I like that. I like the fact that not everything has to be this grand send-off. People are disappointed that they didn't want to see Capaldi go out that way. But, growing up on Classic Who, it wasn't always this big hurrah for a Doctor's final story. The Classic series really I like the way Council of Geeks put it. It was basically a regular story where the Doctor just doesn't survive at the end. He's fatally hurt at the end. Most of the time. Legopolis, you might say, had some build-up to it. But that's about as close as Classic Who got. Most of the time, it was just a story where there wasn't a lot of build-up to it. Well, I guess Caves of Androzani had some build-up to it, too. But that wasn't, like, a main focal point of the story. It was just basically a really good story where the Doctor doesn't make it through at the end, usually. And it's kind of like that here, although they do kind of blow it out of proportion at the end. Personally, my favorite scene is when they use the old footage to show the first Doctor regenerated into the second Doctor. That retweaking of Tennant's theme from End of Time right there is beautifully put to it. But I really enjoyed David Bradley. I like him as the first Doctor. I don't think he's as good as Hartnell or Herndl in the role, but I do like him a lot, and I enjoy how he plays the character. I love seeing like that version of his first TARDIS is really nice. Bill being back, I don't really mind how they did it since it's not really Bill, it's just the glass thing with her memories. I can accept that better than if she had come back because I thought she had a good send-off. But I enjoy it. It's got some good humor in it. I do like the fact finding out the captain was a Lethbridge Stewart. That was nice. So yeah, for me it was a fine send-off for the 12th Doctor, and I don't know why the haters are in such an uproar about it. Number 4 on the list is Day of the Doctor, which was a great 50th anniversary, although it does have a tendency to celebrate more of modern Who than it does just Doctor Who in general. But I can get that. It's kind of hard to have, a lot of classic Doctors showing up when they don't look the age to show up. I mean, they're so much older now. It's really hard to make that work for a whole special like that. I do love the scenes when the Doctors are saving Gallifrey. That was a very beautiful moment. The classic fan in me, my heart skipped a beat. I absolutely adore when Matt Smith meets the Curator at the end. That's one of my favorite moments in all of Doctor Who. I fist pumped the air as soon as I heard that wonderful, wonderful voice tell him that I really think you might. I absolutely loved that. It made my day. Because I recognize that voice anywhere. So anytime I'm watching reaction videos and people are like, who's that? Is that Peter Capaldi? I'm over there going, these are supposed to be Doctor Who fans. Okay, sure. But I do like a lot of Day of the Doctor. But not all of it. I do, on rewatches, find myself fast-forwarding through parts, usually sometimes small parts. But it's been a while since I just did a complete watch through, or watch along, or whatever of it, without fast-forwarding through something. Because it does get a little long in the tooth overall. Because it has a lot to do. Plus, I don't think the War Doctor quite gets his due in it. And I do love the fact they have John Hurt in this. And it's nice to see Tennant back as well, because I do love David Tennant a lot. And I love the fact that Tennant's Doctor and Smith's Doctor do get on pretty well. I actually really like that, because it seemed like they would. So I enjoyed that. Moving up to number 3, we have Time Crash. I love Time Crash. I know it's just a mini episode, but I love it. It was the first multi-Doctor story we had with the classic series. I do like the 5th Doctor. I do like the 10th Doctor. And I love the fact that the whole thing, especially the latter part of it, just seems like David Tennant fanboying out that he's there with Peter Davison. Because this is before Tennant met Peter Davison's daughter. So at this point, he was just geeking out that he was getting to hang out with the 5th Doctor. And a lot of that part at the end when he talks about, you were my Doctor. You get you get the sense that's not just the 10th Doctor talking to the 5th Doctor, but that's Tennant talking to Davison. And Davison's great. He slips back into the role well. I really enjoy it. It's got a nice little humor to it. Oh, the exact size of Belgium. It's a bit anticlimactic, isn't it? Belgium? I love that. I love how these Doctors interact. That's what makes it a lot for me for multi-Doctor stories, is how the Doctors interact. And these Doctors interact beautifully. I love how they interact, with the 5th Doctor being grumpy toward him at first, and then figuring out who he is and liking him, and the 10th Doctor just having a ball talking to him. I've gone back and rewatched this one so many times. I've probably seen this thing 50 times. I love it. I remember the first. I've had 3 different girls I've dated that I've shown this mini episode to. One of them was already, 2 of them were already Doctor Who fans. One of them had never seen Doctor Who before, but none of them had ever seen Time Crash before. And all 3 of them really enjoyed it. And they could tell that Tennant was just having a good time interacting with Davison. And I love the fact that it's pretty emotional for such a small episode. Especially, again, Tennant's speech at the end. It's absolutely beautiful. Number 2 on the list is the 5 Doctors. I have a soft spot for this one, especially since it was the first multi-Doctor story I ever saw. I've been watching it since I was very, very little. It's one of the first Doctor Who stories I actually have memories of. So I've always had a soft spot not only for Davison, but Troughton and Pertwee. And that was really my introduction to the first Doctor, was Richard Herndl's first Doctor. And I actually like him in the role. I think he's good as the first Doctor, and you can tell he's having a great time playing it. You know, Richard Herndl really does in that role. He seems like he's happy to be there. He's having a ball. He does a good time. Or he does a good time. He's having a good time. And I like that... I like it when the other Doctors are kind of in awe of the first Doctor. That is one complaint I had about Twice Upon a Time. I don't feel like 12 had the respect for one that he should have, like the other Doctors tend to do. Here, the other Doctors seem to have they seem to have a lot of respect for one. Just like in the three Doctors, they have a lot of respect for one. Even though he's the youngest, everybody always seems to respect him. And I like that, and I think you should have that. And he earns it. It is the first Doctor in the five Doctors who figures out what's going on. To win is to lose, and to lose is to win. He's the one who gets it. I know we don't really get Tom Baker in it, but back when we first saw it, I'd never seen Shada. It's completed as we have it now with animation, so I didn't know about Shada. So for me, that was just a new Tom Baker scene I'd never seen. And I'm sure for a lot of people when it came out, that was a new Tom Baker scene we had never seen. So, somebody could have told you, well, Tom Baker only had a day to come in and film, so he filmed one scene real quick, and you could have believed it. So it's nice that we get him in there a little bit. It's just not much. And, of course, nowadays, people will be like, that's the scene from Shada. But back then, in the 80s, I could see them not knowing that. And I think everybody does a good job in it. It's nice to see Sarah back. I love Sarah Jane. It's nice to see Patrick back. It's nice to see John back, John Pertwee. Everybody seems to be having a good time. It has a pretty good story. I like the Rassilon and the game of Rassilon. Finding out who the traitor is a nice twist, because that's been an ally of the Doctor across several years and several stories. So it actually is a nice twist to find out he's the villain, even though he has good intentions. It's one of those where the villain, you can understand why they're doing what they're doing. Their own methodology and philosophy has kind of twisted them up into crossing a line they shouldn't have crossed, and they get punished accordingly. But the Five Doctors is a lot of fun, and I do recommend it to any Doctor Who fan as essential watching. And number one on my list is the Three Doctors. I love the Three Doctors. I love the story. I love the idea of Omega. I love when you learn why Omega can't leave, that pretty much it's just his will keeping him alive. That whole scene about there being nothing left of you is beautiful. And the main thing that sells it is the fact the second and third Doctors can't stand each other. I love that, especially since they are two very different types of Doctors, two very different types of actors. And I think that's part of it, the fact that Pertwee is more read the lines, buy the book, take it serious, and Patrick was more prankster, improv, kind of do his own spin on it. It's hilarious. And it bleeds through in their performances, just watching them not get along at all. One of my favorite scenes in all of Doctor Who is when the second Doctor first shows up in the TARDIS. That whole scene in the TARDIS when he first appears is hilarious. I am he and he is me. And we are all together, cuckoo-ca-choo. What? It's a song by the Beatles. Oh, how's it go? Oh, do be quiet. I absolutely love all of that. And then the first Doctor shows up, thinks they're both idiots. Like, have you done anything? We've assessed the situation. Just as I thought. Nothing. And William Hartnell is in great form here. I know he wasn't in the best of health, and when you read into it and find out more behind-the-scenes stuff, that he only had a day or so to film, that he was reading for cue cards, the fact that his performance comes through as amazing as it does is beautiful. The timing of it, he's still the first Doctor, and I think he absolutely nails it here. But I really enjoy the story. It's nice to see Benton and the Brigadier get inside the TARDIS and see it. I like the villains. I like when they go to the antimatter universe. I like how they come up with a solution to get out of it. And I love that line about I gave him his freedom, the only freedom he could ever have. To me, the Three Doctors is the best cross. I know it was the first multi-Doctor story. I still think it's the best multi-Doctor story. I think it just doesn't have any weak points to it. I think the plot holds up well. I think the pacing is good. And I think all of the actors involved do a good job with it. Unlike Day of the Doctor, which to me the pacing, it just has some severe pacing issues. I think the Three Doctors I don't think it has any pacing problems. I think it's perfect as a four-parter. It's exactly what it should be. So what do you think? What are your favorite multi-Doctor stories and why? Have you seen them all? Have you seen the Three Doctors? Check it out. Comment it down below. Give me your list and tell me why you feel the way you do. Check out my main channel, Prowl1701, Prowl1701, where I talk about all things Star Wars. And most importantly, take care and thank you for watching.